to you. But chapter 11 is about statistics. Sometimes it helps to understand a trend. In a lot of cases, the number of people involved is too large and to gain information from everyone. In this case, a relevant sample of the population is studied, and a statistic is calculated using the data. So if the population was the complete world, and you wanted to know who likes M&Ms or how many people like M&Ms, you can't ask everyone in the world how many people like M&Ms, but what you can say is, let's take a sample of people, ask them how many like M&Ms, and then we'll multiply that out to represent the population, which is why the work in statistics is so important. Again, the statistic is what you actually use the sample for. So if 50% of the people said they like M&Ms in the sample, then if your sample was a good sample, then it should mean that 50% of the whole world likes M&Ms, although it won't be exact. It'll just give you an idea to kind of let you know. We'll talk about how samples work, I believe, in just a little bit, but 3 study types are covered in this textbook. First one is a survey. That's data collected from responses given by members of a population regarding their characteristics, behaviors, or opinions. So you know what a survey is. I think you've done enough of those things at the end of the year when they ask you how you feel about the principal, how you feel about the school, the environment, and all that stuff. Experiment is another one. This is where you take the sample and divide it into 2 or more groups. You have your experimental group, which undergoes the change. Let's say, for example, I want to know who likes, whether watching a math video helps you work better. So I would take my sample, teach one group on the computer, teach the other group regularly, and then see what the results tell me. And if the results say that the people who learned from the computer did better, then it means that the computers probably help. If the results say that people on the regular part learn better, then it means that the math teacher teaching on computers sucks and he needs to be fired. I'm just joking. I'm talking about myself. Observational study is one where you simply observe. The key word in observational study is that you observe members of a sample, and you don't affect the study, but you just kind of let them be in their natural form, and you look at what they actually feel and how they react. So the questions on your homework today are not going to be that tough. Actually, chapter 11 should be an easy chapter, especially for those of you who've already worked. You're in for a good 10 days because it's not going to be that tough of a process. A record label wants to test 3 designs for an album cover. They randomly select 50 teenagers from local high schools to view the covers while they watch and record their reactions. The population, because the questions on your Math Excel are simply going to ask you these basic questions. What is the population? The population in this part, if this is a record label, would be potential listeners or fans, I guess would be a way to say that. So potential fans would be your population, and that would be potential fans in the world. Although this is going to be multiple choice, you just have to at least be able to figure it out. The sample is who I chose, so it would be the 50 teenagers. The sample type is either your survey, your observational study, or your experiment, because it says that we watch and record. We didn't ask them any questions. We did not walk up to them and bother them at all. We just let them look at the covers and watched how they reacted. This is an observational study. That's what it says. But you understand what I'm saying. Because we are simply watching and observing, it's an observational study. And so those will be your 3 answers, and that'll be that. Hey, I got another A here. That should be a B. City Council wants to start a recycling program. They send out a questionnaire to 200 random citizens and ask them what items they would like to recycle or they would recycle. Your population here is important, and it's important that you understand the scope. It says the City Council, which means it's probably the city. You don't want to say it's the state. You don't want to say it's the world, because it's a City Council. And so that's where you got to be careful there. Your sample is the 200 citizens that were randomly asked, and because we are asking them a question, because we're actually wanting their opinion, this is a survey. Alright, and then the last one of these, at least Pharmaceutical company wants to test the effectiveness of a medicine on heart conditions. They choose 100 random names off their patient list and administer the new medicine to 50 of them for a month. Results are studied and compared for both groups. Again, notice how we separated into two groups and we administered new medicine to 50. We let the other 50 not be administered. Population, to me, would not be the world. It would be, if we're talking about heart conditions, it would be heart heart patients, I guess is how I would say it. But again, this is going to be PATINTS. Yes, I think that's it. But anyway, your population here is not the world. And the reason it's not the world is because everybody is not going to have a heart condition. But it would be anybody that's going to have a heart condition that might be affected by this drug. Your sample, though, is the 100 patients who were tested, or 100 patients who were part of the study. And the type, again, because we are separating this into here and we're going to check the results based off of trying something out, is an experiment. I've always had an issue over the last few years spelling experiment. I think my brain's losing. I think it's EXPERIMENT. I believe so. But other than that, that is the general idea on the first part of what we're talking about. The second part is here is important to minimize bias in studies and surveys. We talked about how the sample represents the population, and in this world, in this day, people use false statistics to try to persuade people to do things. For example, one of the things they do to show bias, let's say I'm showing you a chart on how much money you can make by using my product, and the actual chart would look like either this, or I could fix the numbers to look like this, because remember, if that's a 10, I could simply do 0.51, 1.5, 2 to get up to 10, and I can extend that scale as far as I want. But if you're telling people that they're going to make money and you have a chart that does this, they're going to be more excited about this chart than that chart. And so there is bias that goes on. There is some trickery that goes on with statistics, which is why we're trying to show you this stuff so that you can be responsible, and also that you can make sure you think about it whenever you make a decision. But bias is one of the things that happens in a survey, or something like that, or a study. And one of the things that happens is that it's confusing or wordy, that it causes a strong emotional reaction, or it encourages a response, or it addresses more than one issue. You can't tell me, you can't do a survey you can't do a experiment to check the effectiveness of the medicine and the life expectancy, because that's testing more than one thing. Whenever you're doing a statistic, or trying to do a stat or get a statistic on something, you have to be very specific on what it is you want to know. So again, another part of your homework today, which again should not be that bad, is just examples and wanting to know what is biased and what is not biased. And so when you read it, you just simply need to look from a perspective of, are you trying to make me think something before I even answer the question? Do you think the school needs a new gym and football field? Number one, I don't get an emotional response from this because it just is there. But here's the thing that throws me off. Why do we need a new gym and football field? What if I just want a new gym but not a football field? What if I want a football field, not a gym? Why do I need both of those to be linked in there? I would say that this is biased. And I might be wrong. But to me, I believe that anytime you're talking about more than one thing, again, it focuses on one thing only. It needs to be specific. Whatever argument you have for a new gym is not going to be the same argument you have for needing a football field, and vice versa. So I don't see that as being a good question. What you should simply say is, do you think the school needs a new gym? Do your study. Do you think the school needs a new football field? Do your study, and get your answers from there. Because again, otherwise you take people who think we need a new gym, and they affect the number of people that you can say think we need a new football field, which isn't always the case. Which is your favorite football team, the Dallas Cowboys or Pittsburgh Steelers? Well, here's the thing. Favorite football team. Alright, maybe you don't like football, but even if you do like football, who says that you have to only like these two schools? I don't think it's a good question, and you would just call it a bias question. But in other words, it's just not a good question. Do you play any extracurricular sports? Again, no. It's very direct. It's not emotionally driven. This is unbiased, which is what we're looking for, or I would say fair. That would be a good question. So if any of you take statistics and you want to do something, your teacher would probably let you go ahead and use that as your statistic there. Don't you agree that students should carpool to school? This type of statement, don't you agree, pretty much means you should agree with me. You're already trying to get the person to start nodding their head as they talk to you, and so this throws bias into there. Now, what you could say is, do you think students should carpool to school? But don't say, don't you agree, and pretty much throw your own personal attachment to that question in there. But that's the general idea of what we're doing today. If we were actually in class, we could discuss experiments, discuss surveys, discuss observational studies, etc. This chapter is difficult to teach remotely because interaction is the best way to learn about statistics, and so because of that, your homework for chapter 11 is going to be different. It's actually going to be put in a quiz form, but you will have infinite chances to retake the short assignments, and they are short. So if you don't like having a 50 or a 60%, just simply retake the quiz. The questions don't really change. I think I took off the part where you could actually check your answers because you do have notes, you do have some sort of access to things. I think you should have a textbook at home even already. So just check that out, and again, do whatever you need to do there. But the overall idea is that you understand the key points of the chapter, and so your own discipline and pride is going to earn you the highest percentage possible. The questions will be basic, but you will not be able to earn a high score until you actually understand what you're doing wrong. So you won't get 100 unless you know how to do it, because it's not going to give you the option of answering, seeing you're wrong, making an adjustment. You're going to answer the questions, then you're going to see what you got on it, and then you should probably review it a little bit, look to see what you did, and go from there. Now keep in mind, and I'm telling you this because you are my stars in terms of talent, you're going to pass this class as long as you try. Probably going to give you an A as long as you try. But again, remember that you need to understand this stuff in order to be effective in your future classes. So please don't just BS your way through the Math Excel. At least try it out. And again, if you're missing something, if you don't know what you're doing wrong, send me an email, send me a text. I'll be glad to help you out, or whatever it might be that you need me to do. But like I said, let's just go ahead and see what we can do for the rest of the time here, and I will talk to you later. Have a good day.